Okay, I'm going to read the governor's speech here. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that can gather in one place, this meeting of the Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust Fund will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.townofgb.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so by following the Zoom link on the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Why we have to read that at every meeting, I have no idea. So I call the meeting to order. Our first order is the minutes from the last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to go over the minutes? And are there any changes, corrections, or comments? Apparently not. Could I get a motion to accept the minutes as written?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. We have to do a roll call vote. Garfield? Garfield? How about Larissa?
Aye.
Garfield, that was an aye?
Bill,
Yeah.
I have one correction.
You do? Where is
Yeah.
that?
Others president says Jane Ralph and June Wolf. It lists June Wolf as being with Habitat. Should say Jane Ralph and June Wolf of Construct at the very beginning under others present.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Right. So with that change, so
I amend my motion to include John's change.
I
okay.
amend the second.
Okay. I think that's close enough. We'll do the roll call vote. Garfield? With that
Yeah.
correction? Okay. Larissa?
Yes.
Brad?
Aye.
John?
Yes,
And I. So unanimous with the correction that I will make on the minutes. Okay. So the next thing is sort of good news. Whether we accept Grove Street from the town and when we accept Grove Street from the town. I'm inclined to accept it, but I don't want to sort of be responsible for it until we're sort of ready to go with Construct. So, Chris, do you have any advice on how best to do that?
Hi, everybody. Chris Reynolds speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Hi. Bill, I'm not sure what you mean by being ready for Construct relative to 40 Grove Street. So,
Well, that's not exactly what I meant, but will the town be able to still maintain it, or is the trust going to have to start spending money to like mow the grass and things? I guess that's my concern.
well, it's still in the town's possession until the deed is formally signed and recorded.
Yes.
So we have a little bit of time before it's actually in your name.
Yes.
Gotta get signatures and whatnot. So, you know, I don't think there's any rush to transfer it one way or the other.
Okay.
I can't tell you what the carrying costs of it are. I'm sorry. It's really relative just to insurance, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a massive liability. It may be more so relative to the trust's account than to the town's general fund. So, town meeting didn't give us any direction as to timelines, so I think it's going to be up to the board tonight, as you allude to, Bill.
Yeah.
I think we need to figure out a timeline for what we're doing. You know, are we ready to put an RFP out for that property? And if so, do we need to have ownership in our names prior to that? And what's the timeline? What's the overall timeline? I think, you know, Chris said that town meeting didn't give us any indication, but I think we need to have an idea that we need to move on. Is this a 2021 project?
Yes.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah, I don't see why not, why it couldn't be a 2021 project. I assume the trust goals are just to reoccupy it as a single family home
Yes,
to a qualified purchaser. Is that right?
that is correct. Yes.
Okay, so it won't be a leased or a rented property. It will be,
No.
somebody will find it
Yes.
either through the RFP or some other way. You'll either convey it to somebody like Construct or a housing organization like Habitat, or pick a housing organization who will find a qualified tenant, or maybe you'll have a qualified tenant, qualified homeowner actually respond to the RFP.
So we could do that either way. We could just put it out to anyone that wanted it with the deed restriction and the sort of permanent affordability.
And I think we have to have a criteria.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
keep it a single family and, you know,
Yeah. Well, maybe between now and your next meeting, a few of us could work on a draft RFP.
yes.
And maybe at your next meeting, you can formally vote, take ownership, and maybe issue the RFP if you're all in favor of draft.
I would support that, Bill.
Yes. Would someone like to make a motion that would move this along?
I motion that we postpone this discussion until the next meeting.
And
What we're talking about?
yes. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay. For discussion's sake, could we get a couple of people who would be willing to work with Chris maybe on developing an RFP for the property between now and the next meeting? Fred?
I'm available these days.
All right. Anyone else? Well, Fred, why don't you work with Chris then and see if you can come up with a RFP. Welcome, Garfield. We can see you now.
You can hear me probably.
Yes, we can hear you too.
Got a little better light there.
Yes.
Okay.
Like,
All right, so there's a motion and a second to move this to the next meeting. I guess any further discussion? Then we'll take a roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Larissa?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
And John?
Aye.
And aye for me too, so that's unanimous. All right, that's moved to next meeting.
Okay, Fred, we'll be in touch.
And then we have something that may take a while, the purchase and sale draft agreement and the development agreement.
Bill,
Yes.
Bill, what about the contract with Construct for COVID rental assistance?
What's that? Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. We can do that quickly, I hope. Did you all get a copy of the contract, and do you have any questions regarding it?
No.
ask this every time, but can someone remind me how much money we have?
This is for the the second $50,000 installment from the money that was moved from restricted only to affordable housing, to down payment assistance, to either down payment assistance or rental assistance during COVID.
Okay.
We had 100,000 that was approved at town meeting to go either way. Is that correct, Chris?
That's right. This was a $100,000 account. You can use it for either homeownership assistance or rental assistance. And the proposal here is to use half of that 100,000.
Right.
50.
You have
Or-
50,000 left, Bill?
No, we already did the first 50,000, right?
No, I know that, but we have just 50,000 more.
I don't know what is exactly left in the down payment assistance fund on the other side.
That's on the other side. This is the money that was allowed by town meeting
Right.
to go to this fund.
Yeah.
That's
we
I
have-
believe it's just 50,000.
Yes.
We have at least the 50,000 left in the overall fund that was repurposed from town meeting.
Right.
50 of the 100. Plus you have some small balance in a previous year's town meeting vote.
I thought the original 35,000 was from your discretionary funds,
I
and that's
believe-
all we've spent from the
The original
town.
35 was from our discretionary fund.
Yes.
So I don't think we've committed a 50 yet.
I don't either.
You haven't committed it to us anyway.
Okay.
You're the only game in town.
All right. Then this is the first 50.
Okay.
Can I make a motion, and if we get a second, we can then have discussion maybe?
Sure.
I motion that we approve the transfer of $50,000 to Construct for the purposes of continuing the rental assistance program.
And I second it.
Okay. Any further discussion then?
I think it would be appropriate to hear from Jane or from June about the progress of that and what they're seeing going forward, up to this point, going forward. I don't think anybody ever thought that this would go on as long as it does and has such severe economic repercussions. And also, could you give us a brief report on how you've done with our $30,000+ so far? Have you spent it all?
Sure. Yes, is the simple answer. I sent a report today. I apologize that it didn't get out sooner than that. I'm not sure if that was in the packet that
It
Bill
wasn't
sent
in
out
the
or not.
packet, but I did get that, yes.
So basically the last month, January, has been as busy as last April was, when we did that first month. And if anything, I think the need is higher. The risk is higher now than it was. So more folks are trying to stay home. The average the average grant is a little bit less, I think, because some folks have been able to increase their income either from employment or benefits. A lot of folks didn't have unemployment benefits last spring. Things died off a little bit in the fall as jobs were more readily available, and it's gone back up again. I can quote just a couple of the statistics for Great Barrington. Let me pull it up. So we've done 93 total assists for the 11 months or so, 10 months or so. That's 52 households. There were 36 landlords that rented to these 52 households. The total amount of rental assistance provided to Great Barrington residents is just under 70,000, of which the Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust has provided $33,275.35 of the support. I think, as with everyone, the hope is that as the vaccine kicks in for more of us, more folks will be able to go back to work. we don't really know what the employment scene is going to be like. So having the ability to do longer term rental assistance is in everyone's best interest. And I really appreciate the support of Great Barrington. We've been able to do the most support here. And I think it's largely because of what you all are doing.
Well, and I appreciate that you've been able to leverage that money with state money, with grant money, with Taconic fund money there, and have looked at this as the last dollars, I believe you've previously said, so that you've been very prudent with spending the money, so that it has gone for 10 months now, which is quite amazing. And so many families helped there. So I heartily endorse this program. I think we have this money set aside for this purpose. I would encourage everybody to approve this motion so that the rental assistance program can continue.
Okay.
And the other thing I just want to say is, it's not just the tenants that are being helped. It's those landlords too, which are often small businesses or mom and pops that are renting in their house, and they don't want to be the bad guys and kick people out. They've been very accommodating, according to June, about working with their tenants. So it's for business as well. So
Okay. Anyone else?
I quickly just want to say, I hope you guys had a good fundraiser concert this weekend. With the pandemic, I have so many Zoom calls that in a week, I have to choose what I can and can't attend virtually. But Jeff Stevens used to be my band teacher, and I know that Wanda Houston is a popular show. So I hope that went well for you guys in conjunction.
It did. And the good news, Larissa, is it's going to be on our website for another month. So if you get a slow Zoom day, I strongly encourage you to take the 45 minutes to watch it. There's also a star among your midst, because Garfield did one of our videos for the and June, of course, but Garfield's the one of the stars of the show.
But Wanda was really heartwarming, and Garfield, you rocked. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good. I'm
We pretended we were at Castle Street Cafe 5 years ago.
glad.
Me too. It was awesome. Jeff Stevens and Rob Kelly brought it home again. It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, they're a great trio. Well, thank you. I'm glad it went well for you guys.
And what we're finding, just if I can take a moment, is folks need utility assistance, folks need internet because their kids have to go to school, they have to go to work. So keeping people safe in their homes is a much bigger task with a much bigger outcome when we can do it.
So, thank you. We have a motion, and we're ready to take our vote if no one else has anything. Garfield, continue with this rental assistance?
Aye, for sure.
Okay, Larissa,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Fred,
aye.
and I. Okay, unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the good work.
Thank you for the good work.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yes.
Jane, do you think if the new stimulus bill gets through the way they're discussing it, there'll be anything in there for you?
No, that'll probably be administered through RAFT. They're the ones that are really set up to do that kind of administration. There may be some money that comes through Berkshire Taconic like it did last summer, but right now I'm not really expecting it.
Okay.
Okay.
So, draft purchase and sale agreement. I initially thought there was some urgency to get this done quickly, but after speaking with Chris a little bit last week, I decided that we can just move along slowly on this, get everything right, and still move forward with the MassWorks grant. Does that sound right to you as well, Carolyn?
I think we have to look at what the requirement is for the MassWorks grant. I asked somebody to pull up this year's MassWorks grant to see what site control definitions are,
Mhm.
so that we'll hopefully have that in the next week. And we did talk to the attorney. My board and I talked to the attorney yesterday, Peter,
Yes.
just to have him take a look at documents and stuff. So he did not anticipate us having an agreement tonight.
No, neither do I.
Yeah. So if we could at least get some of the bigger things out of the way or have a discussion about them, I think that's success.
Okay. Chris had recommended that we get a couple of board members together with him and Carolyn's group. And after we give some input tonight or some direction tonight, a small group could sort of sit down and work the details out with the legal people. And so
Yeah. Bill, if I could jump in.
yes.
This is Chris. So from my perspective, there will be a lot of details to be worked out, and I'm really glad this is going to be a cooperative effort with Habitat. So it should go smoothly, but a lot of details regarding, as Carolyn said, what we need to do for site control in order to qualify for the most grants possible.
Right.
Who's responsible for what costs before the site's developed and after the site's developed in terms of utilities, roads, etc. What the permitting path will be for the developer, whether it's a path through the Zoning Board of Appeals with a 40B project or some other path through the town's permitting process. How long that will take, who's responsible for what. So a lot of details that we'll want to make sure are in place so that the trust's expectations are met and the town's expectations are met, and that Habitat's expectations are and needs are met in terms of their funders and the support that they have behind the project. So in order to make it successful, we need to understand all of that and make sure that the appropriate terms are in the development agreement. Because the purchase and sale agreement references the development agreement, says something like the Habitat will develop the site in accordance with the development agreement. We need to get the terms of that development agreement done essentially at the same time as we work on the purchase and sale agreement, so we can get ink on paper at the same time. Yes. As the deed is transferred. So that's why there's a lot of front-loaded work here, but it's all very doable if we can just sit down and I was going to say face to face, Zoom to Zoom, and figure out the details.
I gotta say things.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and make yours.
So who would like to work on this? Fred.
Well, I have to.
Yes, Carol, you're on by
I'll be the
default.
first to sign up.
You don't get to say no.
Yes, you're on by default.
But
Fred?
as many of you know, I retired about 4 weeks ago, and I'm sure in a year from now I will be oversubscribed and have no openings on my calendar. But grab me now because I don't. I have plenty of time.
And Larissa, did I see a hand up from you too?
Yeah, I can help.
Thank you both.
Well then,
Bill, I think I can help too at certain times.
well, we can only have two board members. I think if we have, well, actually, I guess we could have three.
What's our quorum? 6? 5?
Well, we have 5 members right now, so 3 would be a quorum. So we're limited to 2.
Okay.
John, if you and Larissa want to trade on and off to various meetings, that would probably work out too.
Yeah, that might be that might end up being something I need to do with my schedule, but
Okay.
I'll work with John.
Okay,
I think we could make Larissa the representative and John the alternate or whatever. You know, John, I'm sure you're probably more interested. Are you more interested in the financial arrangements or the whole overall thing?
Well, my, probably the whole, more interest in the financial aspects of it because of my background, but I could be interested in the whole thing.
I'm sure you'll get a good chance to, you know, have input.
Yeah, because I have a serious time problem. Bill, what do you want to do about hiring the use of counsel?
well, that's one of the things we need to discuss. Habitat is going with Peter Pusilowski,
Right.
and um, I discussed this a little bit with Chris, and I think I'm in agreement that if we can get some commitment from KP Law to stick to a schedule, essentially, I'd be happy to just go with them. They apparently are familiar with Habitat's sort of operation. Carolyn seemed to think that would be a good fit as well.
We're working with them in the town of Dalton. So Kathleen or Catherine Klein was very familiar with stuff, and it makes it a lot easier because we're not a quote unquote normal developer. So understanding our model is just helpful in working out verbiage and stuff, I think. So I don't know about their scheduling. She was really good with us with getting this thing with the town of Dalton nailed down. So
Where is she from?
KP.
I
Law.
think her office, she's from KP Law. So, and it was interesting because I didn't know that you guys use KP Law, but when we were talking, I had mentioned that they were trying to figure out when our next meeting was going to be. And they had said, maybe we would have the meeting tonight. And I said, oh, I can't, I'm working with town of Great Barrington. She said, oh, that must be our office. And I was like, I don't know. So it was the first I knew that, and I didn't know that KP represents a lot of municipalities. So that was a new thing.
That's their strength. So
Yeah.
suppose.
Yes.
In Berkshire, 8 or 12 in Berkshire County and like 130 statewide or something like that.
Yeah.
Chris, do you feel that they'd be able to sort of move things along with us?
Yeah, I did. As so the town manager, Mark Brzezinski, and I chatted about this, and you know, we're really familiar with KP. We think they have the staff to represent the town well.
Okay.
So we have a good working relationship with them, and you know, David, who's our chief counsel, will, you know, he understands the importance of this to the town and the trust. So, you know,
Okay.
I would recommend sticking with KP. And just so you know, I did chat with some folks about some other firms, both locally and statewide, and yeah, the results were kind of a mixed bag. So I'd say let's stick with KP. We know them, we can work with them, and move that forward quickly.
Okay. We could vote on that. How about a motion? We decide whether or not to go with KP Law. I could make the motion if you'd like.
Are we just looking for for a motion for the attorney?
Yes.
Let's see where it says that.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we engage KP Law to provide legal services as required.
But that we pick the lawyer at KP Law.
I'm not sure that should be part of the motion.
Yeah, let's, if you don't mind, John, let's talk with the team and have them assign the, I don't know all 100 lawyers they have. Let's rely on them to pick the best.
That seems fair.
It does seem fair, but it wouldn't be bad to corroborate with them and have a little say. I mean, what if they don't have this same philosophy? Just for sake of argument as we do, we'd like to have someone that will we're more comfortable and just don't want to say, here's the guy we think will work for you.
Yeah,
Without us having some input.
I did a little exploring too, and I kind of tend to agree with Chris. I don't know. I don't know who else would be better. I think having Peter on the other side is going to make things pretty smooth too.
Yeah, well, Peter's terrific.
Yeah. So, well, Fred just made a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
All right. Is there any other discussion?
What was the motion?
I made a motion to engage KP Law for legal services for the trust. The motion does not specifically limit this to issues with North Plain Road or dealing with the purchase and sale with Habitat.
So there's there's a
Legal services.
motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay. We will have a vote. Garfield,
Aye.
Larissa,
Aye.
John.
I'll abstain.
Okay. Fred
Aye.
and I. 4-1. One abstention. So that much is done.
I'll work with Larissa and Fred first off, and if John needs to, we need to pull John in. We can do that. I'm a little wary about doing that between meetings. I don't want to get into a chain discussion. So
Right.
if we need to have more meetings, maybe we'll just have to have more meetings, board meetings.
Okay.
In the meantime, we'll contact KP Law and get that moved.
All right. Can I assume everyone's pretty much read through the draft of the purchase and sale and development agreements? And do you have questions or concerns or anything at all you want to discuss about it?
I do not.
Okay. Then I guess we will just give it to the committee to move forward.
I have a number of comments on both agreements.
You do?
We'll do it as we go along.
Well, is there something you would like to have the committee look at in particular?
Well, I'll talk to the committee I'll get,
Well, I think you should do it through the chair.
Yeah.
which it will. We'll go through Bill.
Okay. I can pass that along to Chris then.
Yes.
I have one question.
Yes.
Maybe it's not a question, but in the sample development agreement you gave us,
Mhm.
where is that going next?
To you and Fred and Chris
Okay, thank you. So
and
my
and
only-
Carol and her
Oh.
team.
Perfect. Okay, so then my question can be reserved for Chris.
Okay. So
It's a technical question.
I would now Chris, in terms of a time frame, would we be able to have something back? What do you think is a reasonable amount of time to bring something back to the full board?
I can't really give you an answer on that
Okay.
without understanding all of the different moving pieces. So I won't really know that until we all sit down and meet with Habitat.
Fair
I
enough.
don't want to give you any false expectations.
That's fair enough.
You know, we will all move it as they say, time is of the essence. We'll move it as swiftly as possible.
Okay. Great. Anything else on that? I guess not. Moving on to advertising. I just wanted to sort of, we discussed this a little bit at the last meeting. It didn't seem like we came to a real conclusion. I think we could start by simply putting a few ads in the shopper's guide, if nothing else, both in the help wanted section and rental sections. Just little classified ads. Doesn't run much at all.
Directing people to where?
To the down payment assistance program. That's all. I think that's a simple thing to do. We can do that without, it's not going to cost very much. It's going to start getting the word out there.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Great, awesome. It's one of the reasons I checked in. I walked around with a friend of mine who did some census going around, and it was astounding to me in my neighborhood here on the other side of the Housatonic.
Mhm.
I think there's some really direct ways. I don't have a problem putting something in the shopper's guide, but I'd love to see us put together even just like a basic flyer and make sure that Bridges, Berkshire Literacy, the fire department, and the volunteers of the fire department get it. The young professionals that we're trying to reach out to, even those who are in the area who are part of AmeriCorps, Teach Corps, all that kind of stuff. I'm happy to volunteer to kind of direct some kind of a flyer so we can really pinpoint that kind of situation. I'd love to do that. Yeah. So
Sure.
just saying, I'll check out.
No, I think that's a good idea to focus like that. I was thinking also the CHP and VIM and the food pantry, all of those
Absolutely.
places.
Yeah, totally.
And I could put a flyer together with your able assistance if you'd like.
I think you've already done one, maybe you could update that.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to get it around and make sure the right people get it. I mean, that's
Okay.
jam. Happy to get it around there.
Okay. Yes, we have something existing, and I'll.
Can
take
we
that.
authorize printing costs out of petty cash or
Yeah,
our office account?
I think so. Isn't that right, Chris? If we have some, we wanted to do some color printing, perhaps.
You do have, I think, a general
Yes, we do.
administrative fund.
Yes,
Right.
we do. So we can cover that easily.
Do we need a vote for that, or is it just petty cash expenditures?
Well, typically, I think your policy is that two trustees need to essentially sign checks, but you sign the warrant. In this case, usually it's Bill and John, I believe,
Yes.
approve invoices. If there's a contract, you might want to vote on a contract, but I think
Okay.
that's not what you're talking about here.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, it's minor expenditure.
Yeah, I think if we know the general purpose and range of costs we're talking about, if you all are fine with that,
Yes.
I think Bill and John are your trustees who take on the role of approving the invoices.
Well, I wouldn't imagine it's going to be more than $100.
Probably not.
So
Depends on how many we print. If we need 10,000, we could be in trouble. So
What I don't understand though is because I looked at the percentage and the formulas and stuff.
yeah,
So we obviously are looking for a good solid mix of people. So how do you translate that? I mean, that's really the thing. I mean, we're looking for actually 4 different types of applications, correct? Because of percentages of income. Yes. Of the median income, and you guys are looking to fill in, 10%, 20, 35% of this income. Am I wrong? I mean, I don't know.
No, the income qualification is based on a percentage of the area median income.
Right. And isn't there though, aren't you, but isn't that formula mix different? I mean, aren't
Mary
we?
Pat, are you referring to the purchase and sale agreement that was in the
I think
notes?
so, probably.
Yeah, that's specifically for the Habitat project. I think what
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Different
You're
project.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Thanks, June. Okay.
For the down payment assistance, it's a fairly narrow window, if you will, where somebody makes enough money to qualify for a mortgage and yet doesn't make too much so that they can meet our income guidelines, coupled with the fact that the inventory in Great Barrington is very limited in affordable housing.
Right.
Yeah. And we can give up to $25,000, but
For
Right.
the person that fits into that, it's a very good program.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of takers, but not as many as we'd hoped.
oh, by the way, Gina did close on her house on Friday. So
Yay.
Very good.
So would it be a good idea to share this pamphlet with realtors?
yes, we did that, and we did
Mortgage.
banks. We did banks and realtors. I think why that didn't work was that people that don't have enough money for a down payment don't consider going to a realtor or a bank because
They
why?
self-select.
Right.
Yeah.
And so once I realized that, it's like, well, yeah, that's not the best route to reach people. But I think Mary Pat's idea of this reaching out to specific organizations and groups, that'd be great.
You could include the Chamber of Commerce and try to get it to a lot of local employers as well.
I mean, even the library.
Yes.
And does it cost us anything out of our budget and not just the town's budget in prep for town meeting to just throw a flyer in with the town meeting materials? Just to remind everybody?
We could do that.
Yeah. I mean,
Good idea too.
Good idea.
if it comes out of the printing costs to the town anyways.
You could organize a pre-town meeting show.
Oh, Chris.
As people file in, they'd be hearing all about it. Sounds exciting.
Yeah. We'd have hats and costumes. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
The highlight of town meeting. So Mary Pat, do you want to talk after the meeting sometime or tomorrow and work out a list, and I'll put
Sure.
something together, send it to you. You can comment, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have some people for the list too. So
Okay. Yes. In fact, if everyone wants to, you know what I could do? I don't know. Chris, can I do this? If I put Mary Pat's list out in an email, could people send me additions to it? Is that deliberation?
Yeah, it is.
It is?
Really?
Okay. Can't
Yeah,
do that.
I could send it. I mean,
You could send it.
staff can do it, and you can respond to staff.
Okay. I'll pull you into the loop here.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's probably all we need to do to start.
well, since we're still talking about advertising, this proposal that Beth Carlson put together for us, were we going to ask her? I think somebody mentioned in our last meeting that we should ask her to like provide us some more information about where our money would be spent with her. I did get some of her videos online. I think they're kind of cool. But was that an idea, or did I just?
That is, we were talking about online stuff, and I think should be good with that, I could have her, I could make sure that she's available for the next meeting.
Yeah,
Go over, answer questions and,
Good idea.
okay.
I continue to think that we still need to figure out who's going to generate the continuing content if we engage her in any meaningful way.
Mhm.
She's basically the medium and the facilitator that pulls things in and
Yeah.
posts them and gets them out there. But the actual content needs to be go through these board.
Yes, and I can work on that.
Absolutely.
well, that's why I'm bringing it up because I deleted my Facebook account because I just have no need for one at all anymore. But it also means that I no longer have access to the housing trust page to like make edits or do anything else.
Oh,
So I'm sorry, I know. I couldn't take Facebook anymore.
it's okay.
So I don't know if there's like another way I can help like keep that up without an actual Facebook account of my own. I don't think they let you like run an organization without an actual person's account behind it. But I need to try to think of other ways to sort of help us keep a presence online without having my own personal presence there. So
Oh,
um,
Could you be like an editor of the Affordable Trust Facebook page, or do you have a company? You know,
not without an account. You could make up a dummy account.
I just actually thought about that, just to oversee the housing fund one.
Use my account. I don't care. I hate Facebook anyway. I'll need it, but I'm not a fan of it.
Oddly
Just
enough,
my account.
it's an extremely resourceful place for the community. I think people trade extremely valuable information there, but
I mean, yeah,
politics just became too much. So I should make a dummy Facebook account.
and I'll make you an editor on the Facebook page for the board, the trust.
Okay, so
Just send me what your new name is.
administrator at whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I just want to mention that again, because I know we talked about it at our last meeting. And maybe that's what our discussion needs to be about tonight or into further meetings. Like, are we wasting our money with advertising like that? So anyways.
It's a good question. I'd like to know that.
Well, you know, Gina didn't find us through anything we put out. She
Right.
sort of came in the back door through Construct's website. Yes,
thank you, June.
yes. And so that made me think we are not doing this right. So I
Right.
think we do have to advertise at least something,
Right.
you know.
I wanted to say something about maintaining a Facebook page, in the sense that if we're going to go ahead and put out a flyer that has something, it'd be really interesting to encourage people's interest. Okay, the flyer, are you interested? Here's the parameters, here's more information about it. We'll be able to see some analytics if we had a Facebook page,
Right.
meaning that people who were going and clicking on the greater information that was required, we might be able to see what kind of feedback and hits we're getting as far as people looking at it.
Yes, we do get some feedback from our website also. It was real popular for a while. Interest has kind of fallen off, but yeah, we were getting a lot of activity on the actual website, not the Facebook page. Yeah, the Facebook page just, I haven't had time to maintain it the way it should be maintained. And so it's kind of fallen by the wayside.
Okay, well, I'll follow up with you and make a dummy account. I neglected to remember that when I deleted it, but
Okay.
maybe that's our conversation point, that we're in the wrong places. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, I don't know. Everyone I know has had a realtor in their home sale, but everyone I know would not apply for most of the affordable housing we oversee. So I think Mary Pat had a good idea. I think we just need to go to the organizations that work with people that fall into the affordability levels, and
Yeah.
that's our, Bridge works with people from many communities in our community. So yeah, let's start that list, and I think maybe we should just put our focus there.
Yes. Well, what we
Have
could
we
do.
tried to do, have we tried to do maybe just like a little open house, if you will, or present us one time or one meeting every couple of months or something? This is what's available, kind of a thing that lets everyone know what's available as well.
Yeah.
Bring people in.
Ooh, or the Bill, I think you're on the transportation committee. I
Yes.
filled out a couple surveys that I think Tate put together for the bus routes.
Yeah.
Could we do something like, I don't know how well those surveys are filled out when the town does them, but could we do something like that to assess people's,
It's a great idea.
or
Yes.
I thought of that myself. Yep.
I think the town should host like a community conversation about housing
Absolutely.
in general, which would help us
Absolutely.
have some presence. But I also think the town should have a lot of informational meetings about housing, the police, our taxes, town meeting, blah, blah. So I don't know how that works. I don't know if we're allowed to do that. I don't know where that falls. But, again, if the surveys are heavily, if people participate in those.
We get somewhere between 400 and 600 responses generally.
Oh.
You know, those things, I'm thinking about it. We're talking about folks that don't always have a lot of money. Why can't we put these things in like the laundromat? Things where we're saying where people go, people are that have
That's perfect.
have tons of money, places like that. We needed to be there. And I don't know about a town meeting, because how many people are going to get in a town meeting and some are going to go?
Especially with a Zoom thing. Yeah.
Oh, I would never
I
ask anyone to do it on Zoom.
Okay.
I think it would need to be like
A future plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where people go, where they are.
Yes. Well, Garfield, put a list together and get it to Chris Rembold.
You got it. I will.
Okay.
Every time I put an ad in the paper when I'm trying to feed someone, they put it in the dining section. Now that's so silly. If I don't have, I'm not going to, just like you said, I'm not going to the bank. If I'm not going to go look out to go eat dinner out, if I don't have bread. So yeah, I always have to put it somewhere else, man. People
That's
ain't
right.
gonna-
Exactly right. Yes, we've been advertising in all the wrong places.
Right, looking for love in all the wrong places.
So are we sending our lists to Chris? Is that?
Yes, is that all right with you, Chris?
That's fine. Once I get a full list, I'll send it out to Bill and he can transmit it to the full board.
Okay. And
All
right. So Mary Pat, we'll start with your list and we'll grow it as Chris gets more.
Great.
I think that's actually sort of a good plan. And Larissa, if you can sneak in now and post some things to our Facebook page and put some stuff on the Houstonic community and the Great Barrington bulletin boards, or not bulletin boards anymore, Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to execute and get those things around and make a phone call and touch base and
Okay, you're hired.
People, that kind of thing. To me, when in the last, 18 months, seeing the complexion of the town kind of changing and given the pandemic and finances and whatnot, it is just about consistently trying to knit together and include and understand the new chapter that we're facing. And you can't do that unless you're really touching base with the with those entities that are focused on that. So I'm like a big picture person, but I'm happy to do the groundwork to like reach out to those folks. So that's all good.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mary Pat, we have vacancies on this board,
Yeah, but
I mentioned that
I
for us.
thought I had for tonight.
and I would be very welcoming of another woman. So just
Yeah, I don't blame
Okay,
you.
we will talk. Okay. I'm muting myself right now.
thank you, Mary Pat.
Good point, Larissa.
Well, I didn't realize until our last meeting, because we so often have June and Carolyn and Jane here, that when they weren't all here, I was like, oh, I'm the only girl.
Yeah. Once Samantha left, that was it, you know. Well, there's space available.
Yes.
Mm.
And I do appreciate Mark addressing it at the at the select board meeting the other night. I think not everyone checks the list I don't even check the list that's on the website. So
Right.
I'm
It was
happy.
nice to be first on the list too.
Alphabetically, I'm sure, but
Oh yeah, that's okay. So I think that kind of gets the advertising ball in motion. Future directions. I didn't think we'd get to this, but here you go. Who'd like to start? Larissa, you did quite an extensive list.
yeah, Bill, that was my extensive brain dump. And I was actually so concerned about losing my voice from all the meetings I'm involved with that that's why I sent it.
Wonderful.
Basically, it's just a brain dump of stuff that's been rolling around in my head. Fred has talked a couple times about us as a board sort of finding where we fit and like our overall long-term goals and things to sort of be moving for and to sort of find out where we fit into the community. So I was actually slated to have a meeting with Steve Bannon this weekend about job training, because the school boards have made that sort of a top priority for them this year. They want to look into vocational and trade job trainings. And I think that from personal experience, I could not live here unless I had a very good job. And it's impossible to find work here if you don't have steady housing here.
Yeah.
And so, among other things, not being able to afford to live here as a young adult is the reason I moved to Boston for 4 or 5 years. I think in conjunction with what Mary Pat was just saying, I think we need to make sure we're not overlooking some part of the community that needs us and doesn't know we exist. So Mary Pat's list is a good start, but and again, I don't know any part of my list if there is constrictions to what we're allowed to do in our capacity to the town. But do all of the students in our school district have, permanent housing or safe housing? And is there anything we can be doing with the town? I did see on the most recent Great Barrington Housing Needs Study that the town was working on tax incentives of some kind. I need to learn more about that, but the planning board, can we have a meeting with the planning board? Is the planning board doing any work that makes it hard for us to create affordable housing? I do know that there are some zoning proposed changes ahead of you guys at the select board at an upcoming meeting, and have not divulged into what they are yet. But I'm just wondering if we can maybe work cohesively with like some of our town government partners that play a part in zoning and housing and construct. I think we should continue to hear from them monthly, quarterly, Not only have I gotten used to all the other women on the screen, but you guys have been very helpful to me, like very informative to me through all the conversations we're having. So I just would like the trust to maybe be after the habitat and the rental assistance projects, if we can keep you in the loop, just to know what you guys are up to and what you're seeing for needs in the community and stuff like that. So I do want to hear from everyone else. And if you have any questions about my brain dump, let me know.
Can I chime in? Thank you, Larissa, for that. There is something that Carolyn and I are attending the Berkshire Regional Housing Strategy meetings. There's been 2 or 3 of them so far. And one of the items that they're looking into, and I really hope this goes, so I'm hoping that the Affordable Housing Trust will think about it and maybe, you know, I don't know, write or letter support if that's required, is a home consortium. So home funds are HUD funds that they're federal funds that come through the state and then get channeled into municipalities. But your municipality has to be big enough to dole it out. So if you don't have a big enough, supposedly you can get them from DHCD, but that's usually not the case. Or you can create a consortium of communities. So you instead of having a big municipality, you put all your tiny little places together and make a big enough community to have a home consortium. And then the individual municipalities, individual towns apply to the consortium for funds whenever they do a funding, a project. But it counts as local funding. And that's really, really key when you're doing one of these projects. You have to show local support. So if you have a CPA community, which you do, that's great. If you have an affordable housing trust, that's also great. But it's also another one is to have a home consortium or some kind of home fund. So that's one thing you guys can do that's like an easy button. You know, you really just have to talk about it amongst yourselves, research it and say, yeah, let's do this, you know? So I'm hoping that your group will find out more about it and try to support it when it happens.
Hey.
And get Lennox to do all the work.
Yeah, well, Pittsfield actually, probably like Berkshire Regional would be the home base for it, or
So are you
probably
saying
someone in Pittsfield.
Pittsfield is not a large enough community to apply on their own?
That's right.
So we'd need most of Berkshire County, half of Berkshire County?
All of
Berkshire County.
And maybe we might have to steal some communities from Franklin, you know, or somebody else. But yeah, we need all of Berkshire County.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that's a great idea, and any other ideas like that we can collaborate with other trusts. We've shared background information with Lennox and with Williamstown already, and that's been very helpful in terms of borrowing some of their documents and learning from their experiences. I think Larissa's brain dump is a fabulous start. I really appreciate brainstorming and getting all the ideas out there and hoping that, they trigger some other ideas. We've got a big problem in this community, and I don't really know how to solve it. And, it comes down to land in a lot of ways. And that's what we're trying to leverage with Habitat, with the MassWorks grant there, but it's still going to be very pricey for these houses. Affordability is kind of a multi-legged stool, if you will, of, home ownership, affordable rentals, but also keeping people in their houses, and assuring that some of the houses that have been traditionally affordable stay at that price range or stay available to the community. I think Larissa's exactly right about jobs. It's a big, big issue. But as she says, it's a chicken and egg issue with, you know, you got to have a place to live too, as well as that. But, you know, we end up having, I don't know, how many restaurants are in Great Barrington when they were open? I don't know how many are going to be open.
50 something, I think. They
Yeah.
Every one of those restaurants has people in the kitchen working there that are commuting in from Hillsdale or Egremont or Pittsfield or whoever, you know, and
Yep.
we need to provide housing in a lot of ways. And I don't really know how to do it. I appreciate, you know, reaching out to the other boards in town. I think that doing things, I think we can get things done on a per board because we're more focused. We have more of a defined goal of what we're supposed to be doing. But I don't want to put up silos. I want to, you know, make sure that we can work as a town on our various different parts. I appreciate the idea of talking to the planning board, but I got to tell you, they're not my favorite people for a lot of reasons in town. And, you know, somebody else can volunteer for that.
Wow, present company excluded, Garfield.
Indeed.
Present company excluded.
My term's almost over anyway in June, so I'll get out of there.
And so, you know, there's rentals and there's housing, and we're very fortunate to have Construct, to have community, whatever, Southern Berkshire and the other housing areas who are mostly working on rental housing. And there's a lot of units that are coming on board for those rental housings. I think what nobody's doing, what nobody can work on right now are the 1 to 4 family housing units, not the big mega projects like Bridge Street or South Main Street. And, you know, building more housing stock.
Yeah. I think the problem is you can't build a house for an affordable price without serious subsidy.
Mhm.
And you need land.
Yeah. What was that, Carolyn?
No, I think it was June who was going to speak, but I was agreeing that it is a challenge.
I was just nodding vigorously.
I see.
Yeah.
We could hear it.
Well, and I know the stock of housing is very low, but you know what, the whole stock in general, but in either the town plan, the town master plan, or the housing needs study, or both, I don't remember, it talks about repurposing like old disheveled buildings. And I know that like 70% of our housing stock needs improvements, but I'm sure if there was a list of them, we would have it. But another thing I totally neglected in my brain dump, which is crazy, is Airbnb rentals. I know that, you know, some of them are being used now as quarantine homes, or people use them to escape the city when it got really bad. But the town talked about taxing those a couple years ago, and it went nowhere. The state applied their little tax, but if that were to be taxed, does that tax money automatically go to housing in Great Barrington, or that would have to, would it go elsewhere?
I believe it goes into the general fund.
Right, so we wouldn't be allowed to use it.
Some towns designate it.
Yeah.
So you'd have to be involved in the writing of the bylaw that said that added that tax, because there are towns that designate that surcharge to housing. It can be done.
And
Right, I'm thinking sort of like how we, I think there's a committee that decided what we were gonna do with the pot money.
There is a committee. I'm on it. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
So I guess
Kind of limited to things. You have to be has to be really kind of marijuana based in educational purposes, or like with the school monument, they went and hired a gentleman specifically for that, for that purpose. And the other folks like the community center, of course, we know the work they do. Construct got some of the monies because of the work they do with folks. but it does have to have a base and sort of like that. So I don't, and we are looking to see if we can expand the ways the monies are spent, but right now it does have a little bit of a
Right. There has to be
parameters on it.
at least some sort of link to, marijuana impact on the community.
Right.
Right, well, affordable housing is an impact, I would argue. Okay, so then I guess I would just staunchly recommend to the select board that they put in the bylaw if they're ever gonna tax the Airbnbs to direct it to housing, but I'm sure they're a ways off with that.
Yeah, it's really hard to figure out who is actually doing an Airbnb in some cases, unless they register with the state or they're doing it through somebody that's going to send them a 1099 or something like that. We haven't figured out a way to tax them in addition to, I don't even know if it's what our options are, because they already are supposedly paying the
The state requires that they register.
yeah.
If you're doing more than, if you're doing stays shorter than 30 days,
Yeah.
then the state requires that they register, and you can match the state tax.
If you do more than 14 stays per year, I believe you have to register, and you must pay the state lodging tax.
Right.
The town does collect a lodging tax. So all short-term rentals, whether it's an Airbnb defined as a short-term rental or a hotel room, pays a full tax to the state, and the town gets a portion of that. The maximum that we get, we do get that.
Okay.
But not, there's probably plenty that fly under the radar.
Yeah, I think a lot of them do.
But Chris, that money goes to the general fund?
Yes, that's correct.
But we could
It would have to be appropriated every year by town meeting to a specific purpose.
So isn't the question is what is that number and what's the percentage of the general fund? So that we have an idea about that. And then, that's the real question is, so what is that number? And do we want to know that number and ask for a percentage of that get directed back?
Or would a bylaw that sort of directs all the money from hotels and short-term rentals and such to, say, the housing trust? Is that something that could make it through town meeting, you expect?
Good luck.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Maybe not this year where we have like 18 citizen petitions to hear from last year, as well as whatever hits the docket this year. But what is that, Bill? Like a citizen petition, or the town can?
Oh, it'd be a select board. The select board will put it on the warrant, I think. Is that something we can do, Chris? I think it is.
Whilst we still have Bill on the select board.
Sure, I think Bill could volunteer to look into that.
I could do that.
I think this discussion is really great. You should know that you are well served, by having somebody on the select board for now, somebody on the planning board for now, and the deep connections with your partners, Construct and Habitat, CDC, et cetera. So, and a number of us do serve on, there's been a regional kind of task force that June mentioned that's working at the county level. So, and we're exploring all these strategies, whether it's financial or, kind of and Fred talked about this too, keeping affordable homes affordable, creating more affordable homes, creating more affordable rental units. So there's the preservation side of things that's really difficult to do. We've tried over the years using state grant funds. Unfortunately, using CPA funds for rehab is really difficult. So the rehabilitation of the existing housing stock is difficult. So what are some of the ways that we can limit costs and keep costs down for homeowners who are in their homes, whether it's weatherization, whether it's saving energy, whether it's renting to additional tenants. A lot of people don't want to be landlords, so that's a difficult proposition. And creating homes, new homes, new rental units. So it's good to kind of keep up the multi-pronged approach, if you will. And the more programs, the better. So this is a very good discussion.
I'd like to find out whether or not we can partner. We're talking about maybe restoring homes. That's something I think I would love to. One of the things I have for my vision is something we can do. And I think we talked about that. But also, there's a TRI program that actually I'm involved in that they're doing renovations in people's homes for one of that reason. I don't know if there's a way we could get a piece of that pie or join with them or something to that effect. They have that.
Yeah, I can't say anything about that yet, but I hope to be able to say something about that soon.
So this is Fred. Is there any programs that we can take advantage of, like the circuit breaker program, to incentivize people who are in homes to stay there? In other words, make it more affordable for somebody who's there by rebating their taxes or
I concur.
Either based on income or over 65 years of age, or things like that.
Those are Fred thing on the same page. Yeah, I agree. It needs to be looked at. I want to say something about our town, if you will. If you look up and down Main Street in our town, we're a service industry.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to get someone where we are right now. We're not going to, I think it's really important that we do keep our hand in the rental business, because we just don't have the jobs. And in the service business, you're not going to make $20 an hour. You're not going to be able to afford anything around you. We have to be realistic, because this is what we are. And I think as far as our housing, the Affordable Housing Committee, we need to keep our hands in that as well. It should be part of it, not just owning homes, because it's very difficult. And of course, it is the chicken and the egg. You need a job, but you need a home, and it's difficult in the Berkshires. And when you're going to get a job, they're out there, but they don't pay what, $7, $8, $9 an hour, and you have to depend on tips if it's that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we can get too far away from that.
Yeah, and there's just not that many rentals, even if you could afford them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to ask a question. Okay. It's just a yes or no, and it's probably June, Larissa, or Carolyn might know the answer. Do we have a Berkshire County developed youth build organization, which is part of a subset of AmeriCorps that works in the high schools to teach kids apprenticeship stuff? Do we have that? Is that established in Berkshire County?
Carolyn
do
has that.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that, like the Taconic Vocational School in Pittsfield has a robust construction. We aren't hosting a youth build, which is sort of what you're looking for. But what Habitat does have is a Habitat Build and Repair Corps, which is a workforce training and we have 10 slots a year for 11 months. We have 10 slots, which we're hoping to expand on. And probably not this year, but next year we may very well apply for a full-blown youth build situation.
Okay.
And Construct works with Greenagers on pathways to the trades.
I'm frozen.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Just wanted to know. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we have another program called Pathways to the Trades, where we work with young people coming out of high school, pre-college or, alternative to college, getting them into trade internships, mentorships, working with going to actual job sites and working with guys
that's
there.
beautiful.
So and you're absolutely right, Mary Pat, that is the one industry in the Berkshires where you can make a living and afford housing without going to college, or some people also go to college, but
be a musician and you can be a carpenter.
right.
You can be a dancer and you can be an electrician. I mean,
Not a mechanic.
Pardon me?
Not a mechanic even.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a
And
pain
so
job.
that's kind of the beauty of that established AmeriCorps quote youth build.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's also one of the only industries with pay equity.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of women in it, but the women who are in it get paid equally with the men. So, we're hoping actually to spread the word and get some of the high school girls involved in the program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hit me
Getting away from housing. Go ahead.
June, because we didn't do it in 2020, but we host a career day every year to try to
Okay.
get kids engaged with it after high school. But the like deep-seated issue with it for me is that there are so many people who are mom and pops or first generation business owners like my parents who are aging out into retirement, and there are not enough employees to help the next generation sort of sustain what they had all those years.
Right.
Their generation, you guys didn't pay a third of what we did to go to college. The cost of living wasn't as high, et cetera. But it's also just that, like, the feedback we get the most is like, I can't afford to live there. Or like, that's the number one thing, especially for families. So that affordability has been, and, a lot of these businesses pay very well. They pay living wages upwards of like $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. So the work is there, but it is this weird disconnect between, and I will always encourage the youth that are born and raised in the Berkshires to, leave and spread their wings and get some worldview. But for those of us that want to return, there's like this weird disconnect where there's no trade school training or there used to be this program at Monument where you would like shift into a different industry every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I only liked some of it in high school, but it gave me perspective about what I didn't want to do all day, and what I wanted to pursue. So I am actively pursuing Steve Bannon with the school district. And I know the conversation about combining the schools and making one just a vocational program is probably something I don't want to get too deep into, because it's a conversation that's been happening for
Something
years.
I want to get deep into, so you can pass it on to me. That's a platform that I'm very much would like to.
But I'm sorry to interrupt, Garfield, but I just want to say, I think one of the problems is that either orness of the trades, that whole thing where you have the A wing at Monument, like you have your students and then you have them, the ones who aren't really students, they're in the trades. But I think, the dividing of the schools really exacerbates that. Whereas, and I don't know how to overcome this. I think there's a stigma. There's a stigma around working with your hands. And, even the tradespeople, the electricians, the plumbers, the carpenters, they're like, my kids are going to college. My kids have to go to college. And you say, well, you're making it, you have a good life. You have, all the money and toys you want, and you can afford to send your kids to college. But maybe they don't have to, or maybe they should go to college, but then come back and work in the trades because it's an honorable profession. That
stigma, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that stigma is older than I am, and it's never going to go away. Like a lot of stigmas, they're always going to be around. But you're right. There's no doubt about it. But it's very old. It's always, even when I was in high school back in the Stone Age, that was the deal. You're a shopping guy. You got a short tie, and that's always going to be around.
So when we worked on renovating Monument, one of the failed renovations for Monument I was quite involved with. And we confronted this exact issue. And we wanted the schools to work on the curriculum to integrate it more, to take the greenhouse and move it up and have biology classes in the greenhouse and teach the science as well as the greenhouse. To, you know, to fix a car these days, you need computer skills. You need video game skills, basically, to work on a car. And I think that there's a way that you can integrate so that you don't have a college track, you don't have a shop track or a vocational school to work, school to job, I think was the term that we called it. If we could have articulated that any better, I think we would have been more successful at selling the renovation for Monument, but it didn't work out that way. I got to tell you, I spent 20 years living in the eastern part of Massachusetts, and every community except out here in the West belongs to a local school district and a regional vocational district. And we could have a regional vocational district of everything south of Pittsfield belongs to it. And it's a virtual, it doesn't have a building, but could have some classes at Lee High School, some classes at Mount Everett, some at Monument, and work as a vocational school as the administrative umbrella for all of those towns. And each town that belonged to it would pay, you know, for there's so many benefits, not just to the kids and the people who grow up here, but to the town. You know, my favorite story is the Mount Sheffield sends 2 kids, or has sent 2 kids to an agricultural school, one time in Connecticut, another time in Westfield. Well, the reason that and it cost $17,000 per kid plus transportation. And the town is on the hook to spend that money. But the reason they do is those kids can come back and take over family farms. And when they do, it'll stay an agricultural community, and it'll stay with open space, and it'll preserve the character. Now, they may end up going to agricultural college and marrying a girl from Iowa and never coming back, but still, you know, the idea is you need to support the character through education, and you need to support the town in that way, and to provide a living wage for people who are here. Otherwise, we turn into a complete service community, and we're just, you know, I go through meetings and towns and all, and I never meet anybody who's a native of Berkshire County. Everybody's like, well, we moved here in, you know, 2007 or 2020 or whatever, you know, and we've got to have some places for people. My kids don't live here. They live in the Boston area.
Well, that is the vision of Pathways, and we were working with Sean, the head of guidance at Monument. It was very exciting, and he was talking about doing like incorporating the trades into applied science courses.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of, you know, talking about, you know, the hydronics behind heating systems, and, you know, how that's physics and things like that. And then COVID. So, you know, just as we were getting it up off the ground, you know, pandemic, but the Pathways part, the internship part is still going. So we're hoping to revitalize it again when the kids really get back into school.
I forgot about Sean at the school. I should hit him up too.
Yeah.
But that's a good
Leave time.
And
I'd like to see a regional vocational school for Southern Berkshire.
So would I.
Yeah.
Me too, but we digress, I think.
Thank you. I was just going to say, I'd like to think this is a wonderful.
It was just on the agenda.
But it's not the right place to have it. We all agree.
Right.
We need to speak to the people who need to make the decisions, not us right here. And we're kind of digressing from what we think our future is going to be for the Great Barrington.
Indeed, and I think we have more or less covered what we needed to cover tonight, unless we had other thoughts for what the group. This little housing trust can be doing.
I do.
Excellent.
I
What do you
do.
got, Garfield?
One is I think we probably need to, as we talked about, replace Jonathan. I like the idea of, well, first of all, in the future, I'd like to make sure that we're still needed and available, and that we are still here doing our job. And I have to be honest with you, I don't know all the mechanisms and way that things work as far as town government or finances go. But I'd like someone to tell me, why do we always have to kiss the CPA's butt before we can get any money? Why can't we work together more? Why isn't this something that is, why we're all in the same direction, but we seem to have to kowtow, and it holds up things. It's not necessary. We should be able to buy, or like you had mentioned, build a 40 grocery. We should be able to put monies into maybe keeping people in their homes. I like that idea. I don't know why we have to. Are we entrusted to be able to rehab houses like we had talked about? I think that's something we should be doing. And I would, like I said, I don't know why we have to fuss with each other about.
I believe part of the. I'm not absolutely sure about this, but I think we can only rehab houses that we've purchased with CPA money if we want to use CPA money to rehab.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is future desires and hopes, as we had spoke about what we in the vision of 3 years. So yeah.
So.
And there are some towns where CPA and affordable trusts work much better together.
Yeah.
There are some towns that dedicate a certain percentage of their CPA money by agreement every year, 30%, whatever, to their affordable housing trust to be used for affordable housing issues.
Yes, but our CPA seems to want to control exactly what the money is being spent on. Has never wanted to just fund the housing trust at 30% or whatever. Because they just want to have a very specific project to give money to. And I think that unless that board composition changes, we're kind of stuck with it.
Well, there are other organizations, nonprofits doing housing. So we're not the only game in town either. So.
Right.
Sometimes, you know what I think happens? I think we are entrusted to make decisions for folks, and maybe we're not listening to folks enough that have entrusted us to make these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be, it pops up all the time. It's been
Garfield, we're very limited in what we can do too.
Oh, absolutely, John. I agree with you.
That's the problem. I mean, and I guess we could go out and see if we could raise money.
We can get the CPA to work a little more closely with us without tying our hands all the time.
Well, that's going to be a way off, I think.
Well, no, if we don't try, right?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with trying.
Exactly.
John, you're on the CPA board, right?
No.
CDC board?
CDC, sorry. Okay.
I was on it through December, yes.
Okay.
They're gonna start working on some of what we've been discussing tonight. But they're also bringing, in the next 1, 2, 3 years, they're going to bring 100 new affordable rental units on the market.
Yeah.
And 45 of those are going to be in May.
Yeah. That'll go a long way, but there's still plenty of room for more.
Oh yeah. But there is a movement on the board to help to do a lot of the things that have been discussed here. Try to help people find homes and the like. But it's a tough real estate market here right now.
Yes.
I'd like to see us be able to meet with the CPA outside of the grant writing schedule to talk goals, to talk, being proactive, to talk about kind of things. Right now, the CPA seems to want to be reactive. They want to wait for the proposals to be thrown over the transom and have the, the power to say yes or no to those. And I think that we really should be talking to them outside of that pressure, maybe once in the spring, whatever, about what we can work on together.
Maybe name a liaison to the CPC.
Well, it's also about really understanding quarterly or every 6 months, giving a vision or an adjustment about what we're looking for. Yep. Because if they understand where our long-term vision is, where our middle road vision is, and our immediate vision, then they can maybe meet us at certain junctures.
Well, frankly, I think they're going to wait for us to get some successes under our belt, namely the North Plain Road, maybe the Grove Street project.
Mhm.
They've made that very clear.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Can I just say you're not alone in this. The CPA funds don't just do housing; they do open space, recreation, and historical preservation. Is anybody a member of the Trustees of Reservation? They sent out their magazine a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and they talked about 9 communities in Massachusetts passed the CPA, and the CPA serves open space, recreation, and historical preservation. Twice in the article they said that, never mentioned housing, because housing is the redheaded stepchild of the CPCs across the state. It's not sexy. People resist it. They don't talk it up. So, I think Fred's idea is a good one. If you have someone who's just has a presence, go to the meetings and be a presence and listen and be in touch and remind them that housing is one of their things, because it's pretty much an ugly truth that everyone wants housing, everyone understands it, but no one wants to talk about it.
Yes, I think Jeremy often tries to bring that to their attention.
And he's very good about that.
Yeah, and Lee to a certain extent as well.
Yeah, well,
maybe the CPA should remember our name again. Affordable housing. What do they think we're doing out here? Playing tiddlywinks? I can see you have to prove yourself a few times, but let's not get crazy. I mean, come on.
Oh, I think they're going to remember the meetings that we had last year with
Oh, yeah. Who's going to forget those?
People saying I can shout louder than anybody else in the room.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Those ugly times.
Well, I think it's sort of like what June was saying about the trade jobs. As a society, we people who make the most money and have the most revered jobs in our society are doctors, lawyers, people who build homes and do tree work and electricity. And, I don't think we revere them as highly as we do some of those other job descriptions. And same with housing. I think that now more so it affects a wider, large array of people, but for most of our history, it's affected, immigrant and minority populations. So I think there's a whole nother level of stigma to it, but I think I like Fred's idea. I think we should, continue to wave our little flag at them once in a while.
I think you're right too, Larissa. I think we need to keep one thing from COVID, and that is the essential worker tag, that we need to remind everyone that these jobs are essential. And even when COVID's over, these are still people we rely on all the time. So, let's call it essential worker housing.
Right.
Oh, I like that.
Well, I think Mary Pat's idea of doing a quarterly restatement is a good one. It's a goal. I don't know that we're ever going to be able to do that, but I think it's a good goal. And I'm really pleased to, be Zooming with so many people who care so strongly about all these issues.
Yeah.
Well,
I cared so much I stayed through dinner, but I'm gonna go now.
Yeah, I think we
You
may have
haven't.
reached the end of our viable discussion at this point. Thanks for
Bye, everyone.
staying to it.
Bye.
I think it was a good meeting. We got a lot done. But I would, at this point, I think, entertain a motion to,
But we didn't solve anything.
we didn't solve anything, but
It was a good discussion.
yes,
I think we still need to cover citizen speak and then.
yes, that's true.
Yep.
Although, Eileen, I think you're the only citizen and the only media here. So,
I have anything to say, but it was a very interesting discussion.
good. Thank you. I think that's it. Anyone else have anything?
Yeah, Bullet wants to say something.
Bullet,
Bullet. Yeah.
good Doug.
Here's some.
No, I motion to close the meeting or whatever it's called.
Second.
I
Third.
motion that
All
it's-
right. Without objection, then, good night, everyone.
Good night.